And Senator, President Trump refers to all this as merit-based immigration. What do you call it?
Well, two things, Peter. Our immigration system has, for decades, prioritized families and family reunification and merit-based immigration. Our president is engaging in sort of a war of words and a war of deeds to marginalize folks who come here seeking a better life for themselves and their families. I think it's important that our listeners understand that this crisis of children being separated from their parents at the border is something the president created by adopting a zero-tolerance policy several months ago. He's now signed an executive order reversing that, but we still don't know how or when these families will be reunited or what the path forward is. There are folks, Peter, who present themselves at our border who cross illegally, who are sent back home, in fact, a majority of them. But there's also folks who present themselves with a legal claim under our system for asylum, for refuge, because they're fleeing conditions of incredible violence and persecution in their home countries. We can't allow the president to successfully claim that, like a king, he has the right to say nobody gets access to courts or judges. All of them are invaders who get sent home. That's why we have an immigration law system, is to sort out who has a real legal claim from who doesn't. I support stronger borders, but I also support the rule of law.
Do you think part of this is confusion over what due process is?
Frankly, yes. I think the president, I've had direct in-person conversations with him about immigration policy, and he, at the time, was strikingly unfamiliar with bipartisan efforts in the Senate to pass a law that would address some of his concerns and issues, and with the underlying process. There's been articles last night and this morning suggesting that he didn't really grasp what his executive order would do and doesn't really understand the constitutional limits on his power to solve all this by signing something. To fix our broken immigration system is going to require Congress to act, but to reverse this policy that the president adopted that separated more than 2,300 children from their parents, that was a problem, a crisis of his making.
Senator, let's talk with the time we have left about the Farm Bill, the legislative status of it, and some of the positives for Delaware within that piece of legislation.
Well, Peter, there's two different versions of the Farm Bill. There's a House version and a Senate version. The House version, which just narrowly passed last week, makes huge changes to food stamps and school lunch programs. I don't expect a similar version to move ahead in the Senate, where a bipartisan bill will likely be taken up this week. I'm likely to support it because it includes important investments for conservation, for farm programs, and it sustains our country's long-term investment in making sure children get access to nutritious school lunches.
Are you seeing or hearing more concerns about Delaware's limited land left, if I can put it that way? In other words, conserving the open space we do have in a geographically challenged, size-wise state.
Yes, we are one of the highest percentage states in terms of land preservation for farming, but that was done with federal money with state match. When I was county executive, we invested money in farmland preservation in southern Newcastle County. Previous governors, Governor Markell and Governor Minner, and Governor Carper invested a great deal, along with our General Assemblies, in farmland preservation. But there's huge development pressure here in Delaware, as you know, Peter. And yes, I hear from folks that they see shrinking farmland in Delaware, and they'd like us to do more to preserve it.
Very good. Delaware Senator Chris Coons, we'll talk again soon, Senator. Thanks for the time this morning.
Great. Thank you, Peter.